Okay, so what we're getting into today is section 3.1, which is dealing with functions. So we have some vocabulary words that we need to know. We need to know what a relation is, domain, range, and then what a function is. We'll start with these. Okay, come on. So a relation is a set of ordered pairs. Oops, I should ordered pairs. So 2, 5, 3, 6, 1, -2. That's a relation. Okay. Whenever I graph anything, it's going to be a relation, and we will work on some graphing. The domain is the x value or the first value, usually what comes first. It is also the independent variable. This is the one that controls everything. X is in control. The range is the y value, and it's the second value. It is the dependent variable. So x controls y. X controls what y is going to do. Okay, so a function, you have a function when each x value goes to exactly one y value. Another way that you can write a function is by saying f of x, which just means y. So you could have an f of x, g of x, h of x. It's just telling you that when I plug x in, I get a value, and that value is y. So what we want to do now is, the best way to understand if something's a function is by looking at examples. So for a function, each x has to go to one y. So if I have 2 and 2 goes to 5, anytime I have a 2, it always has to go to 5. And then I have a 3 with, let's say, a -4. Every time I have a 3, it must go to a -4. And then maybe 1 with -4. This is okay. 1 also goes to -4. Okay? So these are okay. So let me show you an example that wouldn't work. So 2 will go to 5. 3 will go to -4. But now let's say 3 goes to 2. This is where the issue comes into play. I have the same x value, 3 and 3, but they are paired with two different numbers. And you cannot go to two places at the same time because the second number is different for each of them. That is what makes it not a function. Okay? So if it's a function if you have the same x and it goes to the same y, but because 3 is going to hang out with number 4 and then it's also going to hang out with number 2, you can't go to two places at once, and so that's not a function. Oh, come on. Oh, there it is. Okay, so another way that you can find out if something is a function, it's called vertical line test. A relation is a function if every vertical line only intersects the graph once. So if I have a vertical line, and remember vertical goes this way. So what happens is I'll draw a bunch of different vertical lines, and if it only touches the graph once, then you're good. I like to call it dropping bombs, because if you think about bombs, bombs drop from the sky. We do not have high-tech bombs. We have very low-tech bombs. They drop vertically down, and they only blow up once. So I'm going to drop a bomb. I'm going to make it, let's see. Well, we make it a thick purple. So here's a bomb. Oh, it touches right there once, and that's good. But if you notice here, it touches there, there, there. A bomb cannot blow up 3 times. So this is not a function. Okay, so if I drop a bomb, it blows up there, that's good. Here comes another one. If you're in class, we would have made noises for this. And each of these bombs only blow up once, so that is a yes. Okay, so this one, I'm going to get a thinner marker because this is pretty thick. If I'm going to drop a bomb, Blows up once there. That's good. Blows up once there. Now this is the tricky part. Watch this. It's going to blow up right here, but then you see this hole? It's like there's a hula hoop in the sky, and it flies through that hula hoop. And so it still only blows up right here. And so because there's a hole here, it says that it doesn't include that point. So it kind of, the bomb goes through that hula hoop, so this is a yes. Okay, let's see what else we have. So now we're going to determine if something is a relation. Okay, and we're also going to state the domain and range. So start off by listing what your domain and range is, and then we will go ahead and see if we can figure out if it's a function. So go ahead and do number 1 and 2 for domain and range, and when you're ready, go ahead and press play. Okay, so domain is all the x values, so 2, 5, 6, and 4. And the range is the y values, -3. I don't need to write -3 twice. I can write it just once. And then 1 and 2. Now, when I do this to see if it's a function, I focus on just x. And if you notice, I have no repeating x. So since I have no repeating x, this is automatically a function. Yes. All right, for number 2, the domain was 4, -1. I don't need to write that 4 again, and 5. The range was 2, 3, -2, and 6. So now to determine if it's a function, you look at your x's. And if you notice, I do have 2 of the same x's, so this is what I have to look at. Is this go to the same number as this one here? It doesn't. 4 goes to a +2, and then 4 goes to a -2. So because 4 is going to 2 different places, that is not a function. No. All right, let's look at number 3. For number 3, the domain is the x value. So I'm going to write the coordinates of this. I think it makes it a little easier. -5, 5. This one is -2, 3. D is -2, -2. A is 5, 6. E is 3, -4. And F is 2, -6. So for the domain, it's all the x values. So I'm going to write all those out. So the domain is -5, -2. I don't have to write that one twice. 2, 3, and 5. Order of the domain really doesn't matter as long as you have all those points. Excuse me, I'm yawning. Okay, let's see. Let's go back now and find the range. Okay, so range is the y value. So I have a 5. I have a 3. I have a -2. A -6, a -4, and a 6, and none of those repeated. Okay, so now we need to figure out if it's a function. So I do have the same x's right here, and they go to different numbers, so that means it's not a function. You also could have dropped some bombs. So there's that purple again. Like if I drop a bomb right here, it's going to blow up at C, and it's going to blow up at D. And so since it blowed up twice, that's also why it's a no. All right, for number 4, we're talking about candy bars and cost. So let's start off by figuring out what our domain is. And remember, domain is the x. And if you can't tell which is which, it's always the first one. And remember, it's the one that controls it. So the number of candy bars is what controls the cost. So that's why domain is x. So my domain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my range is the cost. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. To find out if it is a function, you look at your x values right here. None of those numbers repeat. So since none of those numbers repeat, it's an automatic yes. All right, so now what we have to do is just do a couple problems determining the independent and dependent. So independent, again, is what controls it. So I'm talking about two things for number one. I'm talking about the amount of gas and the distance. So you have to think about which one is controlled. And the thing that controls how far you go is the amount of gas. So your independent is amount of gas. That's your x value. Your dependent, which is your y value, is your distance, how far you can drive. All right, number two. Let's see what number two is talking about. Number two is talking about current data usage on your phone is based on how many videos you've watched. So those are the two variables. So the one that controls the data usage is how many videos you watch. So that means the independent is number of videos. And again, that's the x value. And then the dependent is your data usage, which is the y. Okay? So the things to remember is domain is x, range is y. Domain is the independent one. It's the one that controls everything. And then when you find something's a function, you can drop bombs, or you look to see if x repeats itself, and if x repeats itself, it must go to the same place.